Hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Mark Schott. This is Ask Amadeus, and we're having a beautiful fall day here in New York City. Beautiful, sun is shining. I mean, what more could you ask for? Today, this week, we're going to talk about censorship in China. If you have been paying attention to the news, there's been a lot of turmoil surrounding and controversy surrounding China and their censorship, specifically related to the protests in Hong Kong. If you're not familiar, Hong Kong is separate from China. They were under British rule for quite a while, and I think it was in the 70s or the 80s, Britain left, but under conditions that Hong Kong would have autonomy from mainland China. Last year, there was an extradition bill that was set forth and being acted upon that if, there was a Chinese national in Hong Kong and violated some laws, that mainland could expedite. Anyways, I'm lost for the word right now. But they had the right to bring those criminals back and be prosecuted. This is causing the whole protest right now in Hong Kong. This last week, the NBA got in trouble or kind of bowed down and backed down to Chinese censorship. A few of the players and I think one of the owners, maybe it was the Houston Rockets, who are pretty big in China, made a protest or just a comment really about how they support Hong Kong protesters. Some people wore shirts. Some players who were sitting the bench wore shirts that had phrases on them. And if China's very big. Basketball's very big in China. Yao Ming was from there, was one of the biggest players in the NBA for a decade. And they sell a lot of jerseys there. They have big TV deals as well in China. So after the Chinese government caught wind of a few of these things, they had an exhibition game in China that went on as usual. I believe it was for the Rockets, but they didn't allow any advertising to happen. And this was in a kind of a response to players and owners, expressing their their disapproval of what's going on in China right now. And then you saw certain players like coach like Steve Kerr of the Warriors kind of elect not to say anything when he was directly asked, because a lot of these players are getting questions about this right now. Also, Blizzard. There's a huge controversy in Blizzard because, as you know, Blizzard, Activision, they make some of the top video games, World of Warcraft, what are those shoot 'em up, like Metal Gear Solid type or Modern Warfare games that are insanely popular. And they also host huge, massive conferences, and then most recent, competitions and conferences. And their market's huge in China, specifically Hearthstone, which is a game. It's kind of like a strategy card game. Anyways, during a stream, the winner of the pot, this Chinese guy, or I think it was Hong Kong guy, he made a statement during the live stream when he won about the protests and how they're against the Chinese government trying to impose their rules and censorship and things like that. And they took his prize money away, and they banned him for a certain amount of time from competition, earning money through the Blizzard, kind of network / league of competitive gaming online. If you're not aware, it's a very big business, and these prizes are huge. Sometimes up $1 million, $2 million. I think the Fortnite winner in New York or Queens a few months ago won $2 million, and he's like 16 or something, 17, 18. And then so those two specific instances of, Hollywood and media and entertainment really desperate for Chinese access to the Chinese market, bending over to China. On the flip side, my two favorite creators of the generation, I think probably the two most important people, two creators, producers, cartoonists of the generation, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They just put episode 1 of this seasons of South Park basically telling China to fuck off. And they basically do a parody of, they take what's his name? Mickey Mouse is the head of Disney in the South Park universe, and he's like a real bad hardcore gangster. And basically Randy Marsh tries to go to China, get access to the market with his Tegrity Farms weed business, gets arrested, and he kind of loops in Winnie the Pooh and all these characters. Winnie the Pooh, who was banned from Chinese internet, was scrubbed, and just how they're trying to cater to the Chinese government. And Randy decides that they need integrity. That's the whole joke. And then online, Trey Parker and Matt Stone on Twitter and other outlets told them to fuck themselves. And the end of the episode says basically fuck China. And because of that, South Park has been totally scrubbed from the internet in China. So everyone, it's been there for 10, 15, 20 years probably at this point. Everyone knows that it exists. And the Chinese government scrubbed it like it never existed. So they don't get access to that program anymore. And then, South Park can't do deals with them anymore for the time being. And this is kind of what the NBA and Blizzard were worried about. And a lot of people in general are worried about it too with the trade talks with China right now with the Mr. Trumpsky poo. So is it worth it to bow down to censorship to get access to the market? Are you supporting a regime that is fundamentally impeding on people's rights for free expression, free speech, and not to mention the persecution of religious Muslims going on right now? They're basically rounding them up, apparently. It's hard to get information. I don't know the whole details about that part, but we're more talking about censorship here. Is it ethical to work with people like this where they're fundamentally impeding rights that, we in the West think are given to all people or all people should have? Kind of love that South Park told them, just get out of here. We don't need you. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the NBA and Blizzard, because the whole thing now is that if our companies start abiding by their rules and kind of turning a blind eye to it, that's like Chinese censorship coming into America. We can't be having that. No way. No how. So let me know what you think. You can comment below. Has China gone too far? Are our American companies backing down to China too much? What's the trade-off? Love to hear what you think. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe on iTunes or YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at Marcus Amadeus. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day. Here in this episode, we talk about the whole controversy going on with China right now, censorship related to the NBA, Blizzard, South Park, the Hong Kong protests. So hope you enjoy.